Welcome everyone to an episode of the Ol'Timers comic book show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. We are back to full force for the second episode in a row. So, we have the Professor and we have the 13th Crusader. Come on.
What's up, Johnny?
Hey!
Buenos días.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo está?
Muy bien.
Ah,
¿Y usted?
muy bien. Also, thanks.
I only speak American. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to get some lessons. I'm going to Mexico soon, so I'm gonna have to get some lessons. I asked 13 to help me out, but I have no idea what he'd be telling me. He'd be saying things like, "This is how you say, this is how you ask for pizza." When really I'll be saying something like, "Gwen Stacy is the best character ever, and she should never have been killed."
Damn it. Let me cross that one off my checklist.
Was this the Mexico trip? Did this get aborted a couple of times?
Oh yes.
Okay, yeah.
We are finally going. We're doing it. We're sorted. Of course, COVID restrictions allowing it because we're in a bit of a relapse. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Re-engagement, I suppose. Whatever.
Round 3 fight.
Yeah.
I'll teach you a couple words real quick. Mucho tequila.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Dude. Just a vaso, por favor.
Now you could say mucho más tequila, por favor.
What's that?
Much more tequila. Please.
Okay.
There you go.
I'll have to tell you my tequila story, but not another time. All right, we're here to talk about comic books, and if anybody's been watching the No Price podcast, you'll see me getting grief for not watching the TV show.
It was just a little bit of grief.
Well,
I try to get you to rethink your opinion, and you don't like that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's fine. That's totally fine. So, with the ending of the Miss Marvel TV show, season 1, before she moves into movies and God knows what else, it was a great time for us to actually come up with our own favorite Marvel books, Captains, Miss, and all the people in there. Now, before we get into our books, people who think Marvel, really, surely we know Captain Marvel, the Shazam one.
Mm-hmm.
We know Captain Marvel, the Guy one, and we know Captain Marvel / Miss Marvel, the Carol Danvers one, and of course now we've got Kamala Khan. Surely there's no more Marvels out there in Marvel world, is there, Professor?
You would be wrong.
Really?
Yes.
How many more is there?
Boy.
There's Marvel Boy. Yes. There's the Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel. That was of the Avengers. Did we forget about her? We didn't.
First appearance was in the Amazing Spider-Man annual, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And then she jumped right into being an Avenger in issue 227. So that was, I think that might have even been released the same month. So,
all right, there you go.
Yeah. And
I used to like her, actually.
And we do. So in my pick that we're going to talk about would be, the descendant of the original Captain Marvel. So there's several. And so we're talking about the Captain's Marvel, and we're not even talking about Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, that just wrapped up. So
no, well, to be fair, before anybody gets on our case about this, we remember the show is about books that are at least 25 years old. So
right. She's disqualified just based on that.
Yeah, that's the only reason why we're not talking about Kamala Khan. All right, if you like Kamala Khan, she raises her head, comic book, TV show, whatever, over on No Price podcast. So go check that out, and you can have all the Kamala Khan discussions all you like. But remember, this book show is about books. They're a little bit older, so unfortunately, Kamala, you're not
legal age yet.
Yeah, you're not legal age. You're not getting in. No beer for you. Obviously, for religious connotations also. You're not getting in. I don't care what your ID says. Right. Whew. I think we dodged a bullet there. What do you think? Yeah?
I think we're good. Yeah. I think you're
Marvellous.
good. You're good.
Marvelous. Well done.
Can we have a rule, please, that nobody says marvelous for the rest of the show? That really helped me.
Can't promise that.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, 13's like crossing all these jokes out now, going, nope, can't say that, can't say that, can't say that. Oh, bless him. All right, okay. So first up, then we are taking a look at this bad boy. So this is Silver Surfer number 6 from August 1993. Right, prices. You can get this book for around £15 in the UK, and 9.6 on Go Collect. What do you think?
I think it's worth it. I mean, there's some good stuff in this book.
It's actually worth, you ready? $80 at 9.6.
Really?
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, he's not even. This is the Janice Vell version of Captain Marvel. Obviously, it's I guess the test tube son of Marvell.
Yeah.
And in this book, he's not called Captain Marvel. He's called Legacy. Yeah. And this was that year that Marvel and all their annuals introduced new characters. Do you remember that year?
No, I think I know.
I remember 1993 very well.
These characters were very, very much forgettable across the board, except for Legacy, who ended up later on with his own Captain Marvel book.
So let's name those guilty then, or innocent, depending on your point of view. Written by Silver Surfer guru Ron Mars, who I've interviewed over on Outside the Panels a while back, so go listen to that. That's cool. Art is by Joe Phillips. Inks, right, here we go. Tom Christopher with Bob Armand, Sam De La Rosa, and Ariana Lenshock, and Mike Durning. Yeah, and Pat Redding's also in there. Letters are by Ken Brusniak, and colours are by Erica Moran. Wow, a lot of inkers in this book. Why is that?
It's a team effort. Yeah. So, I mean, it was probably a rush job, you think?
Well, it's a Marvel annual. It's a Marvel annual of a certain era. It's going to be a rush job.
Well, Marvel annuals at this point in time were kind of tryout books, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were
definitely.
just like, hire the rookies and let them see what we can do. But with the exception of Ron Mars with on the writing, because he was writing the regular book at the time. But this book was just basically, just an introduction to Legacy. There was a huge recap. Well, not really a recap, but just kind of like an origin story for Legacy told in flashback, where Legacy's mom tells him that Eros, or Star Fox, as you might know as one of the Avengers, Legacy was under the impression that he was his father, or absentee father. If we remember Star Fox, who gets the wanderlust and goes wandering around the galaxy, pretty much abandons the kid. And so Legacy has a very bad relationship with Eros, which they don't really touch on this in this book. But we find out, through Legacy gets in a little trouble in a casino, an alien casino. It's a basic run-of-the-mill type story at the beginning here. But once the Silver Surfer shows up, the Silver Surfer is very much along for the ride in this story. It's not really a Silver Surfer story. It's basically, hey, this is Legacy, or this is Janice Vell. I don't even think they call him Janice in this. I'm not sure, but they introduce him. They do a big, huge flashback of Captain Marvel and Thanos, and I don't even think they do Thanos. I think I might be mixing up with the other book I read this morning for the pod. But for the most part, it's kind of a run of the mill introduction. I mean, Janice is a very much 90s, right? With the long hair, and the funny thing to me was that he's basically dressed as you would expect like a 90s Captain Marvel to be dressed, with the star and the red and the blue. And he supposedly has heard of Captain Marvel, but has never put two and two together that he could be his son, but yet dresses just like him. So it was I was just kind of rolled my eyes at that one. But I liked the story because it just was of its time, really. It was this introduction to this 90s. I remember it took me back at how much I loved this run on Silver Surfer with Mars and Ron Lim, and how great I thought it was, and how it sucked me in. Because at this point in time, Silver Surfer was like the only cosmic book that you could get other than Guardians of the Galaxy, which was a totally different animal at this point in time.
Was it 93 around that time? Isn't that the Infinity Gauntlet stuff kicks around about then?
Yeah, because that's what Jim Starlin comes back, but I don't know if he comes back or if he had already come back. No, actually, I think Infinity Gauntlet was more around like 91, 92. So this might have been
Thanos Quest was definitely 90, 91, something around there.
So this was post Infinity Gauntlet. So Starlin had already come back and been gone. So, but the book really, Silver Surfer was there's like the only place to go for like some great cosmic stories and some great characters too. And even the backups here, where we have a backup story of Terax and another backup story of Ganymede, who I totally forgot about until I just reread it, because she hasn't made an appearance probably since this annual. But the other Heralds of Galactus, the newer ones, Morg and Tyrant, they have pinups in the back here for those guys. You have Ronan the Accuser here, where they don't really even show him that much. And then Jack of Hearts, who, I mean, if we're watching, when we do that No Prize podcast, we've been talking about Jack of Hearts for months.
So, oh man, it's the guy that never dies. I don't understand why he's so popular.
It's interesting character, and you can see here that they've changed his original costume to make it easier.
Seems like Marvel's played that card many times.
That's oof.
I thought having him back would be a nest in the hole. Funny guy. If we're talking about 52 cards, that's DC, not Marvel.
That joke should be flushed.
Hey!
All right.
Let's get straight to the point.
All right. I'm done. I got nothing else.
We're all done.
So so basically this book, I thought, first, seriously, comparatively to the rest of the annuals that came out this year with all the different characters, this was the one that stuck with me the most over that period of time. And the Captain Marvel series that this came out of, when Genesis or Legacy became Captain Marvel and merged with Rick Jones again, or not again, but Rick Jones merged with Captain Marvel. That Peter David run on that book was really, really, really good for that period of time too. So I like picking the first appearance of this character, and he's I think my Captain Marvel more than Marvel, because
really, wow.
When I started reading comics, Marvel was already dead, so I didn't have the exposure I got from Marvel was through the Kree Skrull War when I picked up the Avengers back issues, but I never had any of Captain Marvel's run from the 70s. I never read it. So
okay, cool. 13th, you're a bit of a cosmic fan when it comes to Marvel books. Where does this sit in the pantheon of the cosmic gates for you?
Without a doubt, the Ron Mars Silver Surfer run, or Volume 3 of the Silver Surfer, is my favorite Surfer run of all time.
Better than Stan and Jack.
Yeah, I think so. For me, it was because
that's big talk.
It is, but for me, right? I'm not discrediting what they did, but this is the era I grew up in. It was a long run. To Bud's point, every issue had something new. I also like the Ron Lim art. I couldn't get enough. So this was a book that I was picking up religiously. However, with this annual, Legacy was really not a character that I gravitated to like that. How do you pronounce his real name, Bud?
Genis Vell.
Well, that's not how I read it. I read it as Genus, which rhymes with. And it kind of makes sense, because here his origin story was basically his dad never used his. So that's why I read his name as Genus.
I thought you were saying that he's a bit of a dick.
He could be. But the art in here, like, I agree with your point. Like, with some of these annuals, it's a mixed bag of not just stories, also creators. right? We trot them out there, see what they could do. So Bud kind of went through what the story was, but I'm gonna go through the art for a little bit.
Please do.
So I felt like the inking was inconsistent. The shading was off.
Well, that's
in
because there's
several
15 of the bloody things on there, isn't there?
Yeah. So that's one kind of disadvantage you have with trying to introduce a new character. There's a panel in here that when Surfer arrives to basically save Genus, which rhymes with a, you know,
That one?
no, if you go a little bit more where he says, "What are you, my mother?" If you go to the next one, right there in the middle, is Surfer happy to see him or what? So
See, I was distracted by the other head, top right.
I
was
see.
like, what's going on there? It's like
That too.
just
So if you're accustomed to reading the Silver Surfer run and you're accustomed to seeing the Ron Lim art and the way he draws, how that's inked and colored, this is a definite contrast to that. However, you know, it's fine to introduce Legacy, the story in itself. Okay, it's cool. The Titans were known to have these weird scientific advantages and machinery and messing with genetics and whatever. So it kind of made sense. Um, what's her name? Elysius is her name, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close
So yeah, we remember her from the Death of Captain Marvel book that we covered, right? Where she's in there. That was Captain Marvel's love interest. It was so brief, which was symbolism for what happened to the original Captain Marvel.
That's what she said.
Yeah. So to see her in here, for me was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So she's in this story, and she has this box, and in the box were the negabands. Right. So, but the scene where she gives it to her son, it almost seems like he's holding the matrix of leadership from the Transformers movie, the way it glows, and then you see Captain Marvel in the background. Like arise, Genus. It
Yeah.
rhymes with a so. Symbolic. It's an okay story. I to me, like with a debut like this, it wasn't enough for me to say, let me just grab the newer Captain Marvel issues with Legacy or even his other ventures, right? Because this isn't the last time you're going to see him in the pages of the Surfer. It just didn't click for me. Ronin was a nice touch, but even I felt he was a little bit off, where he's like, oh, I'm fighting two super powered beings, let me get out of here. That's not the Ronin I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, did he fight the entire Fantastic Four? What's up with that?
Exactly. And that's the first thing that popped into my mind. Not the Ronin I knew. The backup stories, they're okay. I was like Terex the Tamer, but again, I think this book suffers from too many hands in the pot.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've said before, cosmic stories aren't my favorite. They're not my forte. So picking this up is kind of like, all right, I've got to G myself up for it. Come on, I'm all right. I can do this. And story-wise, 13th, you're absolutely right. It is just a little bit basic in the introduction stage. Art-wise, I was intrigued from this panel. I love all the detail in this panel. I thought, wow, we're onto something here. And then right up until, all right, I was like, okay, well, I can deal with this. It's still not so bad. I'm all right with it so far. And then when the Surfer appears, I was like, right, I'm done. Because, I mean, other than how happy he is to see him, as you mentioned before, you're kind of like, what? How wide are his shoulders compared to his waist? How out of proportion is his upper half to his butt? And from that point on, my eyes just kept getting distracted by the art. It's interesting to see all the different characters. I'm pleased that Captain Marvel's brief love interest is in there. Shows to me what a professional Ron Mars was for going back to look at this stuff, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, he's obviously putting the time and effort. He's not treating this as just a throwaway annual book that people are going to pick up and dismiss because it's
that panel that panel with Elysius and Eros. Yeah. I love that panel. It's very well done, I think.
Do you
That one.
guys think
Yeah.
Silver Surfer would be hard to draw or easy to draw?
I think he'd be easy to draw, hard to color.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because no matter who you draw, first of all, no matter who you've got, and I see this a lot on Twitter, right, and I see loads of people doing it. Some artists don't draw the characters. You know what I'm saying? So you see a picture of a woman, and without the mask, it could be Black Cat, it could be MJ, it could be Gwen, it could be Jean Grey, it could be Rogue. If it's black and white, there's they don't draw the character, they draw the shape. And I think if you've got that down for the Silver Surfer, it's just a bloke, isn't it?
Yeah, but I dabble with drawing as well.
Yeah,
So Silver Surfer is your basic character where you need to know the entire anatomy of a human being.
Right. Well,
You know what I'm saying?
the reason I'm saying, and I think that maybe Johnny had it, was the inking / coloring.
Yeah.
Where, because there's some people that draw, like Ron Lim draws Silver Surfer to look like almost like a mirror, like reflective.
Correct.
Mm.
Right.
And then you have like John Buscema, who draws him as like flat silver, right? And it's different interpretation between artists. But I always thought that he was probably the hardest to get right? Because I mean, you look at that, and you can pick out. It's so easy to pick out the flaws, right? Where you could hide it maybe in a different, like in a costume, you could hide it in wrinkles, but you can't really hide Silver Surfer.
I think Ron Lim was probably one of the better artists of Silver Surfer that we've seen, and I think he's that standard, right? Yeah. Now there's other guys that can draw better than Ron Lim for sure, and maybe draw a better Surfer, but Ron Lim is definitely the bar. He's the bar for Silver Surfer art, in my opinion.
So just to kind of prove for you both points, I noticed this panel early on with the Surfer. It looks like that's his butt. Yeah, it's like, so I think frame wise, it's just a frame. I think it's the colouring and the inks that you've got to get bang on right, which alludes to both points massively there. So well done. Here's a question for you then, just because we're talking about Silver Surfer. Ron Lim is in there, not in this book, unfortunately.
Well, he did the cover.
Yeah.
So here's my question then. Are you ready? So this is the 90s. Marvel are losing artists artists hand over fist to Image. They managed to hold on to Ron Lim. Is it safe to say that Ron Lim was probably the superstar artist of Marvel at that time?
Yeah, and he was young too. He was young at the time. I remember I heard a story from someone that when Mark Gruenwald hired Ron Lim for Captain America or something like that, that he was like 18 years old, just some kid, some fresh-faced kid. And then, I mean, I met him a couple of years ago, and he still looks really young. Like,
damn you!
Yeah, no kidding.
Damn you and your cosmic energies! Damn you!
Yeah, but it's going to be my age now. But
I liked Lim on Captain America. That run we had with Grunwald.
Yes,
it was my favorite Captain America run. Absolutely, I love the whole Diamondback thing. I love the steroid issue that was brought up.
Remember too that he had his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet, the crossovers and stuff. Yeah. So he was knee deep in that whole crossover situation, including the main series and stuff. So he was very much involved in that project, which was big in that time.
I wonder why he was never tapped up for Image then.
I don't know the answer to that, and I'm surprised that right now he's basically relegated to the occasional cover or a backup story. I'm surprised that he's really not working anywhere.
Isn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong, but is he not in the Thanos Silver Surfer team up book that's been out recently?
He just did the Silver Surfer Rebirth book.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, but before that, he hasn't been seen. Like he was doing like the kids Avengers books and stuff like that. Like you need to put someone of the caliber of Ron Lim. You should be putting him on a flagship book, even though, that he's kind of reflective of the '90s. But so's Bagley, and he's still working. So
Okay, now here's a question for you both then. If Ron Lim was given a mainstream, like a proper top tier Marvel book, I know which one I'd think straight away. Which book would you put him on? 13th, we'll go you first, and then we'll go Professor.
I won't answer that question, but I'll do a twist. I would love to see Ron Lim do his own independent creation, and I'm there day and night,
All right, okay.
rather than a
Sport,
mainstream
sport.
book, because
Sport.
we've seen him in Marvel before.
Okay.
and I've seen Ron Lim draw pretty much every character in the Marvel universe.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's anybody that's currently being published that that I would want to see him on.
Really?
But I would probably, I'd probably want him on the Avengers. just
See, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If Ron Lim was done an Avengers book, you would be buying that hand up. You'd be
because it would be a flashback to me, and I think if you have Ron Lim on the Avengers book, you have to put a writer on there that's going to write old school,
So Johnny, I'll answer your question real
bring
quick.
Busiek back or something. Busiek and Lim.
Yeah.
I would like to see him if it had to be mainstream. I'd like to see him on a Squadron Supreme book.
There you go. You can do that.
He's just saying it to wind me up.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Doesn't
Good
mean it. Right.
You know you missed me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my aim got better. All right. Okay. So there we go. Silver Surfer Annual number 6. A bit of a surprise, but you got to think cosmic. You think Silver Surfer, so it's kind of fitting on there. We're going to take a break for one of our ads before we get into our next book. As we're talking the Captain Marvels and the other various designations of Marvels, seems only logical that we run this ad. So here we go. It's the No Price Podcast. There you go, No Price Podcast, which drops the day before this. So that's alternate Tuesdays, where you get all your fantastic news on Marvel Comics, the MCU, and of course Disney Plus. There you go. Cool.
Yeah.
And the Professor's on there as well.
Yes, I am.
Doesn't dance to the theme song though. Just saying.
No.
That's a reserved for one show. All right.
All right.
So what?
I only dance on Sunday.
Yay! Woohoo! What was I going to say? Through my food there. Right, 13th choice, and we are going with that probably. I was going to say the original, but it's not because there was a guy before the Green and White did before this one. So, Captain Marvel, Volume 1, number 33, from April 1974. You can buy this on eBay in the UK for around £50. Go Collect has a 9.6 at $450. Wow. So it's written by Jim Starlin with art by Jim Starlin. Words are provided by Steve Englehart. Inks are Klaus Janson. And letters by Tom Owsichowski. See, I said it right.
Hey.
I'm getting there. Whew. Cool. 13th, this is your book, so by all means, take it away.
Yeah, I could say that I am absolutely honored that I've met all the guys you mentioned on the credits. I've met, including Roy Thomas. I've met everybody but Tom Orzechowski, or however you pronounce it. So it's crazy, like how this book came out so long ago. You get a chance to meet these creators here and there at the cons, and you go back and like, oh, let me just read this book, and you look at the credits. I'm like, holy cow! Like, this is what they worked on together at one point or another. Klaus Janson, I love him on Moon Knight. That's where I love him for.
I love him on Batman, so
Yeah. Steve Englehart needs no introduction. He's done so many stories for Marvel. Could be wordy at times, but
yeah,
good stories nonetheless. Jim
He's
Starlin.
been on our podcast a few times too.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, we've had him a
Yep.
couple of times. Good guy,
And
really good
yeah,
guy.
and Jim Starlin, obviously synonymous with Cosmic. The king of Cosmic, pretty much in my opinion, for Marvel, late 70s and onward.
Mm.
So this issue, for those that know who Thanos is but have no idea what's happening back this time, exactly before the snap. This was pre-snap Thanos. This issue itself is the end of the Thanos war, and in a nutshell, this is Thanos uh, gaining the powers of the cosmic cube.
Mhm.
Right. So Thanos, it's very simple. He is pretty much evil personified. He wants to control the universe, and he wants to be with death, the actual entity. So this is his first attempt really on doing something like this, carrying out his diabolical plans to this kind of a scale.
Mhm.
When you're involved in something like this, you're bound to attract the attention of various heroes and even gods and whatnot throughout the entire universe. So it all culminates here, right? Where Thanos uses the power of the cube to kind of mess around with time and displace everybody on Earth, leaving only a few behind to actually try attempt to stop him. So he became a god in essence,
Mhm.
and he was just toying with his um, enemies. In this case, Captain Marvel and Drax the Destroyer. Drax was basically created as a bounty hunter to go after Thanos.
Mhm.
So throughout this run, for those that want to know more about Drax, he was much more intelligent than what he was depicted later on, and he's exactly that. He was just hell bent on destroying Thanos at all costs. It didn't matter if other lives were lost along the way. That's what Drax was. Marvel and Drax actually fought each other several times, and Drax is like, "You better not get in my way, or I'll
Mhm.
keep kicking your ass. Or when I'm done with Thanos, I'm coming after you next." That was the Drax the Destroyer that I remember from this era.
Mhm.
So this was kind of a an allegiance by circumstance. Thanos is obviously the guy that everybody wants because the
Mhm.
cosmic cube was built up to be this all-powerful weapon if it was in the wrong hands.
Mhm.
So throughout this issue, this is Steve Englehart with Jim Starlin. It is wordy. Jim Starlin to me is a master of what to do with multiple panels. So he's not your typical artist that
Look at that
uses
panel.
yeah, he's not your standard. Let me just put all these squares in here. He knows how to use uh, the most amount of art that he can fit inside of a panel. I forget which issue it was with Captain Marvel in the run. He did a 35 panel page.
Yep, I
So
remember that. Yeah.
so Johnny in here, the page that he has, this is phenomenal. It's just different. It kind of keeps you awake
Mm.
into the story. There's another panel in there that I absolutely love where if you go a little bit further, Johnny, when they're on the rooftop, when if you go a little further down, right there, see that panel all the way in the left? You kind of have to put the book sideways, but it's like a panoramic view. Like
Oh yeah.
that is not easy to draw, right? Because you got to get the proportions. You got to make sure you have enough detail to know what characters are where.
Mhm.
This is the Jim Starlin stuff that I love. Absolutely love this. Um,
I do notice that Thanos is firing cross-eyed though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he can do whatever he wants. He's got that chameleon power now. That's why he's in green. Um, this is just again, this issue is the conclusion of the Thanos War. For those out there that want to know more about it, I urge you to get all the issues of the Thanos War. You may understand this book a little bit better, but at the end of the day, this is it.
Mm.
Captain Marvel is it. There are no other heroes involved, unlike an Infinity Gauntlet, where you see tons and tons of heroes going up against him, even
Mhm.
gods and whatnot. This is it. This is just Marvel.
Mm.
He's even got Darkseid's Omega beams in this.
hmm Yeah. So what I love about this book too is the entity of death.
Mm.
right? Wherever she is, you pay attention. So even throughout this run, during the Thanos War and things like that, she's makes her introduction and things like that. And it starts making more sense for Thanos. And
Mhm.
the Thanos War is really where the evolution of Thanos really begins in front of your face. You get a good story. Marvel's all over it,
Mhm.
and along with others, like the Avengers. Even Mantis is in here. So, classic book. I can understand why it's worth so much money. Whenever anyone wants to go on a quest, see what I'm going to do here for Thanos. This is an issue that you definitely want to get.
There you go. Excellent.
Mm.
Professor, your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
bad boy of a
So
book?
this particular story, the Thanos War, is the story, is the book that elevates Captain Marvel as a character in the Marvel universe. I think that the Roy Thomas's original run is rather forgettable on this character,
Agreed.
and then when Jim Starlin gets his hands on it, he spends a lot of time introducing several characters like Drax and Gamora and Pip the Troll and Thanos himself, right? So
But all those are characters from Iron Man books, aren't they? The majority of Thanos'
yeah,
first
but
appearance is Iron Man.
Jim Starlin wrote that book too. So
There you go. There you go.
so
Both
the
right.
but for me, Captain Marvel really wasn't that great of a character until Jim Starlin came in here, and you had this kind of epic story where I almost think I think Jim Starlin never really finished in this initial run, never finished writing the story he wanted to do, and had to get coaxed to come back and write the Death of Captain Marvel, right? So so this, with Drax and Moondragon and all these other characters that were just kind of shoehorned in here. And I'm sure it's Steve Englehart's fault that Mantis is in here, because I'm sure Starlin probably didn't initially write her in. But since Steve wrote it, Mantis has got a pretty big part in here. But this book is one of those classic books where it's when you go back and you reread this, you see a lot of the ideas that end up in the MCU or end up, with those core kind of creations that are continually revisited in other stories from decades from now. With Thanos's love for death, take the cosmic cube and then retell this particular story with the Infinity Gems. It's basically that's what the Infinity Gauntlet, and even there's another story that Starlin does probably a couple of years after this with the Infinity Gems that is really kind of the same story, except it's the MacGuffin's different, Johnny.
Can I jump in for one quick second? So
Yeah.
we know that the Steve Englehart basically had his fingerprints on the Avengers, especially during this time, which is what's great
Yes.
about this issue, right? But for those that want to read the Thanos quest in its entirety, the Avengers really
Avengers
didn't
Manual.
know who Thanos was other than Iron Man, and
Yep.
maybe Thor. They were not really familiar with him. So by the end of the story, they're like, "What the hell just happened?" Right? Where someone attains the cosmic cube and is able to do something like this, like someone so diabolical that actually attained his goal. And it's like we dodged a big cosmic bullet here. And that's why I love towards the end of the story where you're just reading the narration. No one's even talking to each other. It's like, but they're talking without saying a word.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah,
the difference in this story too is there's no Adam Warlock, and Adam Warlock is usually,
Yep.
you kind of expect him to be front and center. So that's another thing with Starlin is,
Right.
his two protagonists. He's got Captain Marvel and then Adam Warlock, and they use the same villains and the same. It's almost like the hero is interchangeable. But
Yeah. Also, some good panels in here where Captain Marvel actually becomes an old timer.
Yeah. Yay. Then we'll have him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't dead. And fictitious. There's a lot going on in this book. Again, cosmic. There are it's a wordy book. You've got to love your Captain Marvel and everything that goes with that. I think this isn't your run-of-the-mill comic book, is what I think. I think if you're reading this back in the 70s, I think you're in it all the way. You're not a casual reader if you're reading Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I think you like the ideas, you like the grandiose elements that are in there. You've got death, you've got these cosmic characters, you've got Thanos. Fair enough, you've still got Rick Jones, but right? No one cares, right? But even so, I mean, I still these last panels. I don't think I've read anything as depressing as I read these panels. It's so pensive and so like, oh my god,
That's got to be a touch of Jim Starlin because
Mm.
he talks so much about death in his books.
Yeah.
That has to be a heavy Jim Starlin influence. Maybe Steve Englehart, put the words on there, but it has to be that influence from Jim Starlin.
Yeah, I mean, and this was what 1974. They were all tripping balls on stuff. The whole, I would say the entire 70s, and you can hear some of those stories from Steve himself about what the heck they were doing back then and the ideas they were just coming up with. So
I will say that I didn't mind Mantis in this. Mantis, she might seem like a shoehorn character in there, but she serves a purpose.
Yeah, well, and this is before she gets cosmic herself and becomes the Celestial Madonna. This is prior to that. So
at this point, you also have a snapshot of Moondragon in here, and it's easy to think, well, why do you need Mantis if you've got Moondragon, and vice versa. But overall, I think this is an epic book, an epic run that you're not just gonna pick up willy-nilly. If you're buying this book, if you're reading this book, it's because you really, really love the characters, whether it be Thanos you love, or whether it's Captain Marvel, or the creators themselves. And if you love the creators, then you know what to expect.
For the listeners out there, if you've read Infinity Gauntlet and all the references or the slight little suggestions of why the character's like, oh no, it's Thanos. Well, this is where it comes from.
Yeah. So I think this is like a massive linchpin for the cosmic universe in the Marvel universe. It probably doesn't get enough credit for that because everyone thinks Fantastic Four, but
I think Captain Marvel was canceled shortly after that book, I believe.
Oh no!
I believe.
Well, once Jim Starlin was gone, it was just it wasn't the same.
Right. Well, this book actually stopped and started. This book was notorious for getting shelved for a couple of years and then coming back like it never left. It was like
I'll be honest,
like issue like 23 to 24 and like a 5-year gap.
The first few issues to me read like a Marvel version of Green Lantern, Air Force Base or military base, and with the character of the next book that Johnny's in a review made her debut in there. It wasn't until, like you said, that Jim Starlin came in here and it's finally like, hey, it clicked. Now we know what to do with Captain Marvel. But it was almost like too late.
I apologize. This book did not get canceled shortly after this run. It lasted another few years.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Cool. Right. Okay. So we've had the heavy hitters coming in. As always, my choice is a little bit out of left field. I don't know. It's out of the field.
Not really.
No, you don't know.
Not really. It
doesn't carry the same weight as Captain Marvel, though, does it?
Well, this particular iteration does not. But
so we're talking about Miss Marvel. This is Miss Marvel #1. It is from December 1976. You can get this on eBay for around £40. However, there's a really, really good copy of this book at the Dahl Knight in Darlington in the northeast of the UK, who sell it for £90. Go get it. On Go Collect. Sorry?
Why don't you have it?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I've never seen £90 to spend on a comic book. So 9.6, this book is worth on Go Collect, $925.
What?
At a grade 9, it's 550, and at a grade 4, it's still $500. Well, that's what I mean. It's written by Jerry Conway, art with John Buscema. Uh, John Sinnott's there for care and embellishment, which means pretty much that he went over the layouts. I appreciate probably. John Constanza is on letters, and Mary Severin is on colours. I did some research before looking at this book. Carol Danvers first made her appearance in what? Do you know?
Captain Marvel.
Number 13.
Marvel Superheroes.
Marvel Superheroes 13.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It was-
Cool. Excellent. So this book is an introduction to whole Miss Marvel character, a reintroduction to Carol. She's given up a day job as a security guard. She's now going to work in the magazine industry because that's what you do when you're a superhero. You go work for a newspaper. Comes across the Scorpion doing some shady stuff as you'd expect because it's the Scorpion. It is pretty much fly by the seats of your tights on this one, as she does the usual stuff. The hero saves. What's interesting is that at this point, Miss Marvel and Carol Danvers aren't in a good place. So Miss Marvel only comes out, and when she forces her way out, it sends Carol into fainting spells. So it's kind of like I suppose, a non-agreement that Rick and Captain Marvel share because they swap places. This isn't quite as friendly as that, but it takes a while for Carol to kind of meld into her Miss Marvel persona. It is the height of the 70s, so it is a little bit feminism is key, which is fine. I don't have a single problem with that whatsoever. Is it true feminism? I'm not sure. But I like the story. I like the book. There's nothing wrong with this book for me. It is quirky. It's of its time, as we say quite a lot. There is a history. Scorpion and J. Jonah Jameson go back ages because JJ tried to get him to doing Spider-Man and help Scorpion get his suit and all that sort of stuff. It takes a while for this book to find its feet. It does find its feet eventually, and then gets a costume revamp, which everyone liked, and then gets cancelled after 22 issues. So that's kind of it as a nutshell. I enjoyed it. You can see it's John Buscema art, which I always like.
Yep.
Is it his best art? Probably not. But still, it's interesting having a back window in a costume as opposed to a front window. But both there. No, I absolutely love this run. I think it's one of my favorite runs of comic books, definitely from the get go, from start all the way through. There you go. 13th's been sort of like hinting on Twitter that he's going to be saying something about this book. So, Howie, let's get it out in the open. Come on, 13.
Rip the Band-Aid off, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So, to me, this was a typical Jerry Conway Amazing Spider-Man book. And if you wonder why I say that about Jerry Conway, just read Amazing Spider-Man 120 and 121. So those are my words on that. The art, typical John Buscema, Joe Sinnott, legendary inker on this book. Again, it's a Spider-Man story, and in reading the original, not the original, but the Marvel Captain Marvel run, where Carol Danvers eventually makes her way onto right after her first appearance on Marvel Superheroes 13, like Captain Marvel, they did not evolve right away. There really wasn't that much background on Carol Danvers. She was just a security guard at a military base who had run-ins with Captain Marvel and then knew him in his Earth persona that he adopted. And it almost was seeming like they were building it to be a love interest, right? So eventually, as time goes on, Carol Danvers was, used for to be the Ms. Marvel character. So this is their first attempt at it. I'm kind of surprised for a debut issue. So the reason why this is worth a lot of money is the first time you see Carol Danvers as Ms. Marvel, right, in the costume. This was her original costume, and that's why the value is here. But we've talked about this before with using villains from other popular books to start off a new run. So here we have the Scorpion. Yeah, we know about Scorpion and J. Jonah Jameson, but we also know that these are from the pages of Spider-Man. And
Wait
it
a
doesn't.
second. Wait. It's like you can't be dissing Miss Marvel
Yeah, I
for
can,
having
and I'm not done.
villains. Well, I know you're not, but let me just counterpoint you just for 2 seconds. You
Mhm.
can't say Miss Marvel uses villains from another character's book and expect me not to turn around and say your Captain Marvel book that you picked features characters that were in Iron Man.
No,
They
that's
were
not what I
Iron
said. I
Man
said that the
villains.
debut for this debut issue,
Iron Man villains.
they used villains from another run
You
for the
cannot
debut issue.
you cannot diss one and then not say
Also, the
exactly the same.
previous issue was not a debut of anybody. So, what else you got?
I'm just saying,
All right.
be
So,
equitable.
I am. So, with Scorpion, right, being used in here, it's a familiarity, right? Spider-Man was definitely popular in the 70s, right? They throw
Yeah,
in yet J. Jonah Jameson, they throw in Mary Jane Watson, and they
Peter
meet
Parker's in there.
Peter Parker's in there. So the only thing that's falls short of is that we didn't see Spider-Man in here, right?
Yep.
So, but otherwise, we see her even attaining a job at the Daily Bugle. So my
It's not the
argument
Daily
here is,
Bugle. It's not the Daily. It's a woman's magazine.
yeah, well, who runs it? So she's working for J. Jonah Jameson, right?
Killing me.
So at the end of the day, this is still like part of the evolution of Carol Danvers. Even in the future, right? When she loses her powers and whatnot, we spoke about this with Rogue and all that stuff. I just felt like Carol Danvers was just stunted, right? They tried so many things with Carol Danvers, and it's like, which one of these is going to stick? I thought this would have stick because, like Johnny's right, where later in the run it gets a little better, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So it was a short-lived run, and Carol Danvers really doesn't become prominent again until many, many years later, if not decades.
Decades.
Yep.
Cool. Getting a lot of hate this weekend. That's what I'm saying. Bud, are you going to put the plaster back on, or are you going to kick me while I'm down as well?
Well, I think we have said this is a book very much of its time, right? I mean, and this is we're talking about the feminist movement in the 70s, and Ms. Marvel is really kind of the first female character that gets her own book. Chris Claremont was over on X-Men writing strong women characters at this point with Storm and Jean Grey, and here they're I guess they're trying to get a little of that dust to rub off here on Ms. Marvel. Several months later, we're going to be treated to the debut of She-Hulk, and we're going to Spider-Woman, right? And we're going to start seeing some, I guess, stronger focus on female characters, even though the concept isn't new, right? Because we're going from Captain Marvel to Ms. Marvel. We're going from Spider-Man to Spider-Woman, Hulk to She-Hulk. And this, I mean, what are we seeing now on Disney Plus and on the MCU? It's all the same stuff. So, I mean, this is the stuff that was done back in the 70s. This is I guess this is the original LGBTQ movement, right? Where now we have to have strong women characters, where prior to 1975, 1974, there weren't any. So here, I think this book really kind of shows its merit on that way, even though 13 totally completely right, where the entire not just the villain showing up, but the entire supporting cast is now Ms. Marvel's supporting cast from Spider-Man. When Mary Jane Watson is her best friend, please. Peter Parker shows up because, hey, Mary Jane's in here. J. Jonah Jameson, there's Robbie right there. Like, it's really because Ms. Marvel is a blank slate at this point. There's no other characters that they tie her to. So let's just use what's there already, so we can just get you into the action and not spend the first issue introducing a whole bunch of shit.
The other thing too that I wanted to add, there was even a nod to Linda Carter in here, so we all know her with the Wonder Woman show during this time. So this is Marvel's way of saying like, hey, by the way,
And at the time in the Wonder Woman book, right? Wasn't
right?
she running around as that feminist? What was she had in the white costume there? Like they had kind of taken her out of the Wonder Woman costume, and
Yeah, she was just known as Diana Prince during the time.
yeah, but I mean, this is around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So let's get back to a little bit on this before.
Sure.
Jerry Conway. Let me talk. So Jerry Conway, massive writer for Marvel, did Miss Marvel, also helped create Power Girl, which is DC's version of feminism. So what's that about? Why is he being sort of like hit for those from both companies? Just it makes me it just kind of, what one does, the other one must follow, and all that sort of stuff. It's interesting. We all remember, of course, Miss Marvel changed into this. Yep, and I think that's the look that we most, I suppose, recognize straight away.
I always like that. She wasn't known as Warbird yet, correct?
No, correct. No, she was still Miss Marvel here.
She didn't become Warbird until
Later on.
Correct. In the 90s. Yeah.
But she wore a costume similar to this, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
she did. And of course, she's also gone by binary when she had her powers changed and stuff. So it's, she's very much a mix of a character. She's nowhere as, I suppose, stable. I think Marvel love her for some reason. The amount of times that she has a new book comes out and tries to do all the different things that Marvel ask for her, it's huge, isn't it? It's you're kind of like, how many volumes have there been now?
17. I don't know. There's a ton of them, but the book's really the last couple of years has found its footing with. They just said you need a good writer, so now that you have a good writer on there, it's a really good book.
Yeah.
And I think she's finally found her place. And here, this is very, very early. And but how long did you say this book ran? 22 issues, and
22 issues.
And then she was systematically put into the Avengers for a year, and then we all know.
We all know what happens to Avengers 200.
Right.
Yeah. So, Avengers Annual 10.
Yeah. She's had a very convoluted history, and again, she started off kind of as a blank template. Then they put a little bit of layout on it. Then they put her away. Then they bring her back slowly. And then now in today's world, now she's all over the place. It took all this time. It's been a long, long journey for Carol Danvers.
Agreed. But there you go. Cool. Right. There you go. 3 up, 3 down.
There we go.
Thank you so much, Professor and 13th, for spending the afternoon talking the Marvels.
Time for tequila.
Yeah. Muchos más tequila, por favor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well.
Right?
So good. You're ready to go to Mexico.
Yeah. Woohoo! I'll tell you right. So last time we were in Mexico, I'll tell you dead quick. It was Mexican Independence Day, right? So we're there having our breakfast in the hotel. The waiter comes over, he goes, tequila? I'm like, no, gracias. Tequila? And he's like dead insistent. So at the end, we're like, right, fine, yes, dos tequila, por favor. So we had tequila with breakfast, just like slammed it down as you do and whatever. And then as soon as we take the first one, he shouts, Viva Mexico! And refills the damn thing. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, no.
Where have I started? So all that day we were going around shouting Viva Mexico. So, hey ho. Happy days. All right. From what I can remember. Right. So don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows, including Professor
No Price Podcast, all about Marvel Comics, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Disney Plus.
The newest episode has a bit of a Thor review on there, so
yep.
Yeah, good luck with that. No spoilers. And of course, you've got the TDC, the Definitive Crusade, which drops on alternate Wednesdays to us for everything that's DC related. There you go. All right. So, Professor, thanks once again.
Thank you.
13, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Not long till football season.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note.
Hope springs eternal.
Yes.
Yeah. Hope Springs, is that the new quarterback for the Patriots?
Where's that cosmic cube? I could use it right about now for the Giants.
Because I read somewhere the Giants are going for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, good Lord.
No, I heard the Texans were going for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wow.
I just want him to go for a win. So those are my expectations.
There you go. They're not going to get one with Garoppolo.
No.
I don't know. He's not bad. He's not a bad quarterback.
He's not going to fit in their system, I think.
I don't know. I think he could flourish in a run first offense, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a marvelous one at that.
We should have a sports podcast. All right, okay, guys. I've been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as always, adios.